Kevin will sit there sometimes and be like, all right, thanks. It was just waiting for the show. Just like, boom, gone.
All right, we're live.
We are back. We are in the OT with Kevin and Wes, the producer extraordinaire, sometimes. So, Kevin, first question I had for you kind of out the chute. So you've been at iRacing since 2007, right? Right. When you've been in a position that long or been at a company, how hard is it for you to kind of reinvent yourself and to kind of reinvent staff and reinvent what's going on? Is that a struggle? Not a struggle. That's not the right word. How do you do that every day? How do you do that when you're in the same position for a long time?
That's a good question. When we started the company, or when I started with the company, we didn't even have a product, right? So I was not at all focused on sales or growing our business. We didn't have a business. We were truly a development house. So my focus then was kind of working on the brand. What do we want to be, right? How do we position ourselves? Being authentic, things that we talked about, being the most realistic and all that. That's what I focused on for the first couple of years. And then we launched, it was kind of a soft launch, kind of really just focused on hardcore sim racers. Didn't have to, we didn't do any heavy duty marketing until a couple of years into that, once we felt like the product was at a place that we were really happy with. And it continues to evolve. The product changes all the time, which is kind of what's cool about iRacing. We've been around since then. We've been live selling our product since 2008. But if you go back and look at, videos of the product in 2008, it looks like a completely different thing now, both in content, artwork, feature-wise, and marketing's changed, right? So, when did I start my Facebook page? Probably in, 2009. I wasn't one of the first guys. I was not an early adopter for social media, and Twitter was probably after that. So the things like that have come and gone. I mean, it's hard to imagine back in, I think YouTube was new in 2006. So even when I started, YouTube was pretty new, not what it is today, right? It's hard to imagine a world without it. But yesterday morning, I turned on my phone and Google had a big outage, right? So Gmail didn't work. So my work email didn't work, that was a nice pause for a few minutes anyway. But I couldn't go to YouTube. YouTube didn't work. Like, how am I going to do my day without being able to watch YouTube videos, right?
Right.
So yes, I've been here for a long time, but the product's changed and the marketing world's changed too. So I don't think it's gotten stale at all for me.
So those changes, I guess, almost force you to evolve. Just you have to adapt. Just like we talked about text marketing. You almost just have to evolve with it, I guess. So that's interesting. I was something I wrote down. Just when you're in a position for a long time, I think sometimes the best kick in the ass you can get is the one you give yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was just curious to see how that, that evolved for you, but it sounds like you almost kind of have to roll with it.
Yeah, so, you have to roll with it. And my role, maybe my title might have stayed the same for a long time, but, it used to be a marketing group of me, right? That was the marketing team. Now we have a much bigger marketing team, guys that are focused on, specific aspects of it, because we do enough social media. So we have a guy that does social media, right? He helps on other things too, but it used to be doing a whole lot of little things, together. Now there's people that are specialists, I guess is what you'd call it.
And he better get that damn check mark on LinkedIn.
I'm going to talk to him afterwards. Doug is his name, so I'll make sure that he gets that check.
What are the cycles? Are there peaks and valleys of iRacing as far as just product being consumed? Is it wintertime is better, or is it people when racing is going? I mean, are there peaks and valleys to the seasons of what you guys do, or no?
In a normal year, yeah, I think, winter and holidays, certainly we pick up, but not, it's not like a retail company where you do 50% of your business, but we are busier. People are home more. In this year, when the world shuts down, that's when online racing explodes, right? And we certainly, it's kind of a weird topic. We certainly wish the world would get back to normal, and it's been an awful situation for many people. Our product just happened to fit into what people needed, right? So if you're a retail store, you're probably struggling. If you're a restaurant, I know you guys were talking about restaurants in New York, and it's awful for people in those businesses. Our product we built, many years ago to be solely online, and that's kind of what people needed. We got a huge boost when the real world of racing shut down in the spring. NASCAR wasn't able to race, right? Because nobody could do anything, right? So they called, we talked to them and said, hey, this is what we can do. We already work with you. We already have all your cars, all your tracks. We got the real world NASCAR drivers to race online, and they broadcasted on Fox and NBC. IndyCar drivers did the same. So we got a ton of exposure, basically, 2-hour infomercials on iRacing on the national sports stations. That's a marketer's dream, right?
Did they pay you for that, or did you end up having to pay them for that?
We did not pay them. It was a partnership. So, so if you could imagine what that ad spend would have been to get a 2-hour race on both Fox Sports Network, and it was on local Fox here in Boston on a Sunday afternoon. I don't even know what that would have cost in a normal year. So to get that to work with NASCAR and Fox, everybody was looking for content. NASCAR needed something to keep their fans engaged. The drivers wanted to stay engaged. The networks needed content, right? By May, they'd run out of reruns, right? I mean, we had nothing to watch. No sports were happening. So we were able to step up. We just built a broadcast studio in our new office, which we moved into last November. So that was pretty good timing too, right? I mean, obviously we had no idea this was all going to happen. We planned to do a few broadcasts, but we had made the investment, and it really paid off.
We had kind of joked.
Right now, Carol Baskin and the Tiger King are wishing they would have went online instead of a physical park, right?
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, I was just cracking wise. I said the Tiger King and Carol Baskin. I wish they would have had a online version.
The Tiger King, that was an interesting show this spring. Did you guys all watch that?
Oh,
yeah. Here in Oklahoma, where I live, so what wasn't too far from us.
Oh, that's like your neighbor, right? So yeah.
One of the things I was going to ask, we had talked about before the other show went live was about our spouses or girlfriends, and they don't listen to our podcast, they don't watch this stuff. So you mentioned you're like iRacing is on in Boston, it's on Fox. Did you sit back and be like, yeah. Your wife is like, get up and mow the freaking yard. What are you doing? And you had to have a really proud look at that, right?
I absolutely, super proud. But I'll tell you, watching a race that you're involved in terms of producing and organizing and running is a whole lot less fun than watching your favorite sports team play baseball, soccer, whatever it is. It is so stressful to watch these things when you're intimately involved in making them happen. And I'm just a small part of it, but you're just, fingers crossed everything goes right and it's a good race and it's the product is something that everybody's happy with. And they all went pretty well, so we were really happy with it. And after the fact, I could relax. But during the races, my wife would tell you I was pretty tense, and she didn't say many things to me because she could just tell I just needed to focus on work.
My son and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago. He just graduated from college and he played college football. And he said, Dad, I can't watch football the same. Because you look at it from just all these weird angles, and what he said, I can't watch football, whether it's college, pro, I can't watch it and enjoy it. And I got to imagine somewhere along the same lines of that, where you're looking at all the details and the nuts and bolts of it, and you can't just watch it for watching it.
You're right. I watch race broadcasts now, and knowing more about what goes into them and all the things that happen in the background. The racing action might be great, and I'll say, "Oh man, they got the wrong logo there," or what happened there? The timing and scoring isn't right. Oh, they fixed it. So a lot of different things go through your mind. So you have a different perspective for sure. But I still enjoy racing. Still watch a ton of racing. I get up early. I'm a big F1 fan, and most of those races are on at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, which I get up early anyway. Tim knows when I did go to the office, I'd usually be in by 7. So I don't mind getting up, and I don't have to fight anybody for the TV because nobody else in the house is up at 7 on a Sunday to watch the race.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna. That leads into a question I had. Do you prefer one racing over another, just personally as a viewer?
As a fan, I guess I've been a fan of sports car and Formula One racing for much longer than anything else. I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up going to Lime Rock Park. I don't know if you've ever been to that track. It's in the northwest corner of Connecticut. Beautiful part. Small little track, but that was kind of where we'd go there with the family and got into racing then. But I'm a fan of pretty much anything. If there's racing on, I'll watch it. So whether it's dirt racing, off-road racing, NASCAR, IndyCar, there's usually racing on in the house.
Kevin, can you talk a little bit about what went into actually getting dirt racing into iRacing? Because going around and wearing your tires is one thing, but actually figuring in what mud does to your tires must be a little bit different.
Yeah, that was an entire new project for us, related to what we call dynamic tracks. So a dynamic track is a track that changes over the course of a race, right? So it heats up or cools down based on the weather, the sun, clouds. It changes grip levels by the amount of rubber that gets put on it, right? That's how an asphalt track would work. But that's true in dirt as well. So dirt tracks can get slicked. If everybody runs on the same groove over and over, it gets slicked up and it becomes much more like pavement. And then you'll see the dirt track drivers search for the cushion or some other place that's got some more grip. We spent a lot of time. We sent our engineers to the tracks. They brought back samples of dirt. So we have samples, like these Tupperware containers of dirt from Eldora and all these other tracks, just so we could see the amount of clay, the amount of moisture. Like everybody builds these differently. And the tracks are always changing. Every race they change. It was a huge project, but it really helped us develop dynamic tracks in general, which our members really like, because most games out there, the track is what it is every lap. And if you're sim racing, you can just run the perfect lap every time. And it's not as exciting. If you have to figure out where the grip is, that's a whole new dynamic and really much more fun to race.
Right. Now, when you guys started off as a simulation, from what I remember, it was early on, it was training, right? So a professional couldn't get to a track. They'd go online and they would train to go to that track. And I remember you telling me, we don't use avatars, so there's no speed racer. So if you're in a race and you see Tony Stewart, that's him. If you see Dale Earnhardt Jr., that's him. So that's pretty cool too. So how does Dale Earnhardt Jr. become a racer fan and now an ambassador of your product?
Well, that's two parts there. That's 100% correct. Everybody races with their real name in iRacing, and that's one of the things that makes us a little bit unique, right? So if I'm at a race and get in an accident with Tim Lord, well, I know who it was, right? So, but it tends to make people race a little bit differently, right? If there's more skin in the game, because it's like, that's my reputation. It's not just, racer 1, 2, 3 or whatever. So it adds to the community. People get to know each other. A lot of friendships have been born right on iRacing. How does Dale Earnhardt Jr. get involved? He's been a sim racer for, 20 years. He used to use the products that we made prior to iRacing. So Dave Kemmer, the co-founder, used to run a company called Papyrus, and he's made racing games and simulations since the 80s, right? So he's really been a pioneer in this field. And Dale Jr. used to race on some of those products in leagues and things like that. So he's been a huge fan, and our company's known him for years. He's been an ambassador for us for years. He actually helped us get the initial NASCAR meeting. So some of the guys flew down, and Dale was able to get iRacing and NASCAR executives to come together at his race shop in Mooresville. So that was how the NASCAR relationship began. So he's been a big fan, a big supporter, and done a ton of work for us just because he was a fan. So this, I guess a month or so ago, we officially added him to our kind of board of directors, so that he'll have, the ability to have more input. Although I don't see the amount of input to really going to change. He's been intimately involved with us already. It's just official now, and it's pretty cool to have him on board as somebody that's can be so supportive of us. Obviously, he has a huge following, but he's a great racer, and he's also a great sim racer. He really understands what we do and how it translates to his real world pros that he races with, and also fans and sim racers.
That's great.
What are you reading right now?
I'm sorry?
What are you reading right now? Reading anything? No,
not reading anything.
Sorry. That's not so cool. I'm always reading what people are reading. So if you're not reading anything, that's all right. Wes read, so
Yeah, I struggle with words, so what can I say?
That's all good. By the way, Wes just smiles. He's just like, I can't read. He didn't even try to defend himself. He's like, picture books. It's all good.
Yeah. I can't. Kevin, I do have a question for you. When it comes to celebrities, like other podcasts, such as say an Adam Carolla, Have you been on with people like that, or talking about being that he's such a big race
I've
fan?
not been on the show before. He's talked about iRacing in some of his shows, but I haven't been fortunate enough to get the invite. And probably because I don't have a verified Twitter account or something. Probably.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but we do have our own podcast, iRacing Downshift. I'll throw a little plug in there. So if you're looking for something to learn more about iRacing, we've been doing it for about a year and a half, about 30 something episodes. It's me and a couple of colleagues, and we just talk iRacing, real world racing, and random things that are going on in our lives. So
that's cool.
Check it out.
Do you miss being on the road? I know that normally during the winter when there's a huge snowstorm, you're nowhere to be found, according to your wife. I mean, the history is this. Every time Kevin is in Europe or somewhere exotic enjoying, the spoils of an amazing career, we get a nor'easter here in New England. Do you miss the shows? I
do miss the travel that's part of my job, right? Whether it's a partner meeting, a trade show, something like that. Obviously, that's all shut down. I haven't been anywhere. The last time I went anywhere, I think, was the Daytona 500 back in February, which was right before we shut down. So I do miss that. I'm a people person. I miss working in the office. I mean, it's been nice to just kind of walk down the stairs and go to work, and like you were asking before, maybe wear pants, maybe not, right? But I would like to be back in the office. We have this gorgeous new office that we built. Working with a team is easier in person. It's much easier just to, lean around the corner and say, hey, what are you working on? Versus, oh, now I got to set up a Zoom call and all that. I mean, we've gotten pretty good at it, as you guys have too. It's we were talking about it. You have to adapt to the world we're in, right? And so I don't want to complain too much. Business has been good and we've been getting things done, but I do miss interacting with people in person, for sure.
Yeah. Last question I have, being with iRacing, since 2007, who's the coolest person you've ever met that you were just in, like, have you been in awe of anyone besides Tim? Have you been in awe of anyone that you're like, holy shit, I just met so-and-so?
That's a great question. Let me think. Gosh, I got to come up with a good name though. I don't know. It's interesting. I've met a ton of race car drivers, right? And from all different types of disciplines, NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars. And for the most part, they're all pretty good guys and girls. They're all the most professional one, and the one that got it the most is probably Jimmy Johnson. We were fortunate enough to work with him on a couple of events that were kind of NASCAR co-branded iRacing, did some events in Boston, did some events at ESPN, a few of them, just, nothing big, but small events. And not only is that guy one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time, he understands the business side of it. So if he's at an event, he understands, I am here because this is part of my job. He has no attitude about it. He will do whatever he's supposed to do with a smile every time, and he's genuine about it. Not every driver is exactly like that. Some of them you can tell they're like, oh man, this is another event. I got to go shake hands and kiss babies. Yeah. Jimmy Johnson's the ultimate professional when it comes to that. And that's probably what led to such a great career, because you need sponsors in racing. You can't just be great. You need money behind you, unlike other sports, right? You can be Tom Brady and have no money behind you and you're still Tom Brady, right? But in racing, you got to have sponsors, and that guy gets it.
Just to be clear, we don't care about Tom Brady on the show anymore. So he's dead.
He is dead.
Wow. You guys are harsh. He gave us 20 good years here in New England. Wow.
Not my quarterback. Hey, I respect what he did, but not my quarterback. So
yeah, he needed to go down with the ship. I mean, I will, when he comes back and puts on that red jacket here at Gillette, I will cheer. But I wanted, and it's not going to happen, I wanted the Patriots to win one more game than him. I wanted them both to make the playoffs, but I wanted
that's not going to happen.
No. Kevin, my last question is, I know that you're a photography fan, and Above the Fold is kind of a pet project of yours, motorsports photography. Can you just tell us a little bit about where that sits right now?
Well, I haven't been to a track in quite a while, so that's but I do some work on, some, like you said, side projects. I work with an IMSA team, an LMP3 team, so a prototype team, and I do some PR work for them. I do some photography. I run their website. I also fuel the car sometimes. What's going on? So, yeah, I love photography. Take pictures of the kids playing sports. I've seen you on the sidelines, Tim, some soccer games. Racing is an interesting thing to photograph. It's difficult to get access. I've been fortunate enough to get some pretty cool access. You know, I mentioned Le Mans. I went on that trip when we scanned it and took photos, but I also had a media photo vest during the race, and that was probably the most incredible experience I've ever had with a camera in my hand, standing against the metal barrier on Mulsanne Strait with cars going by at 200 miles an hour. I was there for about 5 minutes, and then I said to my colleague, I said, I can't stand here anymore. Like, this is way too dangerous. Like, it's amazing, but if something goes wrong, we're both dead. So we had.
I have a question. Do you remember Nazareth Speedway?
I do.
All right. So it was like late 80s. My Uncle Dave, who did the poster for the race, we were invited to the hot pits during the race. And so I'm standing right behind the guys that are fueling. And then Emerson Fittipaldi gets up on what they call marbles, and his whole car does like this, and it's headed right towards us. So I know exactly what you're talking. And that's on pit, and he's probably going 70 miles an hour in the pits. You know, so it's kind of wild. You know,
it's still gonna hurt if he hits you, though, right? So. Exactly.
Small last story. Small world. You know, in 1997, Dave Kamer had employed an artist to do some artwork on one of his first products, and that was my Uncle Dave. So my Uncle Dave knew Dave, and then here we are, you know,
really?
30 years later. Yeah, I think I shared that with you a long time ago in our first, and I don't know if I could get my cousin to go through the archives and find it, but there is a piece of artwork that was on one of Dave's first either video game products or whatever. It was a race car illustrated by Dave.
That's
so
cool. I didn't remember that story. If it was 97, it was probably like Grand Prix Legends or something. That's awesome. Yeah, very cool.
Well, Kevin, this has been fun. I'm gonna head to Tulsa International and see you guys. Who's picking me up at Logan and get a beer at 5:00?
I'll come pick you.
And they'll be down there.
All right. Yeah. All right. Cool. Wes, you want to join us or no?
I would like to join you. Hey, Kevin, I have one last quick question for you, not to drag you on even longer, but have you ever heard of New Bremen's Speedway by any chance from back in the day?
No, where's that one?
In Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have Mid-Ohio. You've heard of Mid-Ohio, right? That's a big sports car track. So
Sure. I'll send you a little link about it because it's one of those things that predates me way a lot, but I guess there was quite the track here in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oval track or
oval track?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was started in like 1926 or something of that nature, and was kind of a big deal for a long time.
Doesn't Netflix do a show with Dale, Forgotten or Lost Speedways?
Yeah, Lost Speedways. I'm not sure if it's Netflix or NBC Sports Network somewhere, but they're really cool shows. Dale, loves the history of racing. He actually helped us revive Wilkesboro Speedway, which we built this year, which was an old NASCAR track that had fallen into disrepair. And Dale got the new owners to let us scan it. But besides that, the really cool part is that it was completely overgrown, right? So Dale organized a group of his friends and fans, and they went and completely cleaned it up, right? They had to go use weed whackers on the straightaways and stuff, and then we were able to go scan and capture it, and we brought that track back thanks to Dale. So cool story on the old track.
Okay.
That's cool. Well, I thank you for being on today. I guess this will be dropped on Friday, and double excited about our two friends on next week. Who the hockey boys are going to be on the there they are. Those two guys have spent time in the penalty box. There is zero doubt about that.
They probably have verified Twitter accounts too, right?
No, those guys don't even have Twitter. I don't. They probably still have flip phones. They probably play Snake.
Yeah. They've been hitting the head.
Even spell Twitter.
Very, very, very few brain cells between those two. So there's zero doubt about it. So thank you, Tim. As always, wonderful. Wes, I wait for Black Bart to come back one of these days. I don't know when that's going to happen, but one day soon. All right. Well,
thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Kevin. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
See you later.